Welcome to Module 2, where we will be going over how to keep AI on a tight leash. And to help us do that is Scholar Education's teacher assistant, Professor Bruce. So last module, we talked about what an LLM is, a large language model. And we gave you examples like ChatGPT and Gemini. And essentially, every time you communicate with one of those tools, you are doing prompt engineering. So think about prompt engineering as the input that you are putting into these chat interfaces. And your goal is to receive a specific output. Now, you might have heard the term like garbage in, garbage out. And when it comes to prompt engineering, if you don't ask these large language models the right question with the right context, you're going to get frustrated by the output. So what we've done for you is to help you be the best prompt engineers that you can and get the best output from these LLMs. We've created an acronym for you to easily remember how to interact with these tools. And our acronym is dog themed because that's our theme at Scholar Education, and it is BARK.
All right, so the B in BARK stands for breed. So you're going to identify which role you want your LLM to take on. A stands for aim. You're going to state your objective. R is recipients, or who your audience is for the message. K is keywords. So choosing specific words that will help guide the output. And S stands for structure, so how you want that output to look like, if it's a list, if it's a paragraph, or any specific structure. So an example of what BARKs can look like in a teacher role can be this example here. So for B, we have, you are an expert in PBL teaching or project-based learning. For the aim, you say that you want to plan a unique entry event to introduce your new PBL project on designing a new outdoor mural for the school. Your recipients are high school geometry students, and you want to use Florida-specific state standards. For keywords, you're going to include words like PBL, entry event, geometry students, Florida state standards, outdoor mural, which we already included. And then the structure, you want it to be a summary of the event. So this is what that looks like.
So let's show you what this looks like in action. So you could input this prompt that she just showed you into any LLM, ChatGPT, Gemini, Llama, you name it. I'm going to show you what it looks like in Scholar Education, specifically with Professor Bruce. But essentially, you type that prompt into the chat interface, and you're going to get a similar output, and what you can do here is you'll see like how specific the response is, because we included very detailed instructions, and that is really the key to prompt engineering. You don't want to use these LLMs as you would Google. Find me a lesson plan on blank. You want to, just as if you were to provide like guiding and coaching just to a new teacher, essentially that's what you want to do, is like, what type of lesson specifically do you want to include? And that's where you're going to get the best output, and you're not going to have to do as much prompting with these tools. So let's go into some of the bias in AI and ethics and security considerations. So at the end of the day, these large language models are built by humans. And what it does is it basically takes almost everything that's ever been on the internet, so vast amount of data, and that data is being used to program that generative text that we talked about last month. Now, that text is going to include societal bias, right? Just because everything on the internet has things that are going to represent bias with race or gender or socioeconomic status. It is naturally, just like humans are naturally biased, because this is being built on all of the text and data from the internet, it is going to include bias in the output. So it is important that educators are aware of that. That's like basically step one, is just being aware of that and ensuring that you're looking for any bias. I would say specifically for like an example would be like a history teacher. Most of the generative tools are going to be used from a European standpoint. So your output when generating history lessons, that perspective. That's just one example of the type of bias you might see. So you must check and make sure that you use your own expertise and make sure that you are approving things along the way and making any edits that are necessary.
So we want to emphasize that there shouldn't be this over-reliance on AI, and that we want to make sure that we're monitoring it, just like with any tool that a teacher can use. Ultimately, like we've said before, a teacher is essential for fostering creativity, empathy, personal growth in students, and AI should just be used as a way to help with the workflow and help in the classroom.
And we really want to encourage you to think about ways to use AI to foster critical thinking and human interaction. So for example, with Scholar Education, our student assistant, BaxterBot, might help students answer just factual questions or suggest ways to approach a problem, but it's important that students still engage in problem-solving discussions and using AI as a tool rather than relying solely on its suggestions. So as a teacher, think about lessons that generate critical thinking. So an example of that could be for the students to assess the output for BaxterBot. Did BaxterBot show any bias? Was there any signs of any false errors or whatnot? Encourage students to assess the output that they're receiving when they're interacting with AI tools as well. And that will automatically help them help foster that creative thinking.
And lastly, we want to consider security and safety when using these open source AI tools. We want to make sure that we're not putting any sensitive information from our students, for anybody into these tools to protect privacy. We want to remove any identifying information like names, student data, addresses, and you want to make sure that you're staying FERPA compliant. So making sure that you're following the laws like you would with any AI or any tool that you would use in schools, and to follow your school policies.
Yeah, I think it's a great point to just say to all educators that the open source tools that we talked about, the LLMs like ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on, those aren't built for schools, right? Those are tools that are built for anybody. So they're not going to have the same safeguards that a school, like a school-built tool, will have. So when you're looking at different tools, consider whether or not they have these built-in guardrails that are specific needs for educators. And last but not least, we have our pop quiz for Module 2. Please answer below, and we'll see you for Module 3. Thank you.